HumanX Ventures presents Inside the Coaching Mind. Terry Pettit coached the University of Nebraska's first national championship team in 1995 and put the state of Nebraska on a path to volleyball greatness. Now, Terry mentors coaches, writes books, and gives talks about leadership and team building to corporate and business audiences. Here's Coach Pettit to take us inside the coaching mind.
Thank you, David Young. And before we get to our guest, Ray Bechard, who last week retired as the head volleyball coach at the University of Kansas, where he coached for 27 seasons. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I also want to thank HumanX Ventures, an organization that recruits, develops, and mentors exceptional coaches and leaders. Ray Bechard, welcome to Inside the Coaching Mind. It's great to see you.
Great to see you, Coach. This is going to be a fun conversation for me, and people might or might not know that certainly Coach Terry Pettit's had a huge impact on this coaching career. So I'm excited to have a conversation with you.
Well, thank you. I want to know on the morning after your press conference where you announced to everybody that you were retiring, when you first woke up, what was the first thought you had?
I don't have to worry whether we can first contact anymore. Are we going to be in system? Can we serve at the level we need to? But yeah, just a lot of other things. Certainly want the program to continue to flourish and to do well. So whatever I can do in that regard, but my mind was less cluttered when it comes to volleyball vernacular, I think. So,
well, I asked that because you're not just giving up coaching, you're giving up being the head coach at the University of Kansas, and it's kind of like chaps and a cowboy hat, and it's what you've worn for all those years, and to me, it just felt different, even the next day. Are you going to continue in some kind of role with the athletic department there?
Yeah, we've talked, and there's still some more conversation to be had, but certainly my wife, Pam, and I will live in Lawrence. We'll be obviously ambassadors for the university and the athletic department. At what level, we're still trying to sort through that. And we'll be big fans of all the sports here. You know, as I walk up and down my hallway, I've got some dear friends, head coaches that I spend a lot of time with, and I want to continue to support those folks. But we'll see what develops. Right now, it's a little bit of an open conversation, and we'll see where it goes.
Well, yeah, your daughter Ashley played for you. She was a setter and stepped into a starting role at a critical point. Your son Brennan was on the basketball team at Kansas, and I believe he's director of scouting for Bill Self, and he's been employed with men's basketball there for 17 years. So you guys are all in. You're as in as you can get. People might not believe this, but in the early 1990s. You interviewed at the University of Kansas, and you interviewed at Kansas State. And at the time, you were the head coach at Barton Community College. And I can really appreciate that because before I came to Nebraska, I was the head coach at Lewisburg Junior College. And you were offered the position at Kansas State, and you turned it down. I think there would be thousands of people out there, men and women looking for a Division I head job, who wouldn't believe that. But I thought it was I was a little surprised, but I also thought I understood why you did it. And what was the reason?
Yeah, I had a lot of people questioned that decision, people that were close to me. But as I sorted through the opportunity, I let some, I guess, some previous affection or devotion, even though I didn't go to school at KU. I grew up a big fan in Western Kansas. Me and all my siblings. And I just come off that interview, and I was just so enamored with Lawrence, the Jayhawks, and I was silly enough to think that maybe if I could keep it going at Barton, and the opportunity came back up at Kansas, that was my dream job. And at the time, it seemed like a little bit of a professional suicide, some people said, but the desire and the goal was to someday be the Jayhawk head coach. And whether that was realistic, some people didn't think so, but I guess I still had that belief that maybe it could be.
And 4 years later, you became the head coach at KU. You're from Grinnell, Kansas. People that don't know where that is, it's not far from Oakley. And if you don't know where that is,
Yeah, well, they don't know where it is. They've driven by it because they've taken Interstate 70 west to Denver or the mountains, and it was right there on mile marker 85. But so I'm sure a lot of people have been past Grinnell that didn't really realize that they went past Grinnell.
well, talk a little bit about your family growing up. I know, you have other people in your family that have coached.
Yeah, I was one of 7 siblings, and along with mom and dad, there was 9 of us, and we probably had about 1,000 square feet, three bedrooms, 1 bath. So it was a pretty intimate situation, but we thought we had a good growing up because we had a lot right around the corner where we could go play whatever sport was in season. We had parents that loved us. Um, I had sisters at both ends and 5 boys right in the middle. So there was 2 or 3 of us in high school all the time together. So and like you said, I had a couple older brothers that coached. Had an older brother that was a successful sports writer. So a lot of teachers in the family. My mom was a teacher. So education and coaching and athletics was always a pretty important piece of what the Bechard family had going on.
Yeah, Ray, I always felt really lucky when I recruited a kid whose parents were teachers. They just understood things in a different way. Did you see that as well?
No doubt. Having lived it, that experience, I think there seems to be a little bit more level of just being in touch with what was important in that moment, in that time, and maybe a little bit more discipline, and maybe in it for the right reasons, because teaching, as you know, is kind of a servant profession to be in, and I think those lessons served those siblings well as we moved through it.
Obviously, coaching at Barton prepared you for Kansas, and I don't think some athletic directors understand that being a head coach at a junior college where you have to do everything. You have to drive the van, you have to figure out where you're going to get uniforms, all that really prepares you in a different way than just going in and being an assistant coach, maybe at a major Division I program. And I mean, I always thought that I wouldn't have been successful at Nebraska had I not been at Lewisburg first. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, like you mentioned, uh, heck, I was the academic counselor for the team, strength coach. Did pick up the van, put up the nets, did all the scheduling, travel. Um, you know, so all those things that come with that role, I think, transitioned well. Obviously, when you get to this level, uh, the compliance notebook was a little thicker than it was at junior college or community college. So there's that transition. But I do think sitting in the seat, regardless of what level you're at, creates an opportunity for you to have some momentum to wherever that next job might be.
Uh, how long did it take before I know that my motivation my first 4 or 5 years at Nebraska was to not get fired. I figured it really wasn't much beyond that. How long did it take for you to kind of take a deep breath at Kansas and say, you know what, I think I've got a handle on what this is?
Yeah, I think we were 5-6 years in before that really took hold. We had a pretty good, I think, junior class my first year here. So when they graduate, we're still waiting on the recruiting from the time we got there to kind of take hold. As you remember, the league at that point in time with Nebraska and Texas and Texas A&M and Colorado, and it was an elite volleyball league. So even though there was years I think we were making progress, sometimes it was hard to put that into to catch that momentum from a win-loss perspective because of the league was so good. But we made 3 straight NCAA tournaments, I think, in 2003, 4, and 5, and that point we started having a little bit more competitive confidence in what we thought we could get done here.
Yeah. And in one of those years, as I recall, Ashley became the starting setter when the starting setter was no longer available. And I think in maybe her first match, you went up and beat Minnesota. It was a ranked team at the time. I never got to coach. I coached one of my daughters in club volleyball, but that had to be pretty special for you to coach your own kid and see a team rally around her when a team was vulnerable, and you went on and had a successful season.
Yeah, it was in that she got us off to, she helped get us off to a great start to 2003, which is the first year, we made the NCAA tournament. And the Minnesota team you speak of was a team that went to the Final Four that year. And we were playing them at Minnesota. They were just coming back from Hawaii, so maybe that had something to do with it. But
great scheduling, Ray.
Yes, yeah. So that was the first phone call I got when I sat down on my desk was Hawaii. Hey, you want to come play us? When I first got the Kansas job. So, but anyway, yeah, Ashley, that was such a cool moment. Obviously we transitioned back later in that year to another setter, but if it wasn't for Ashley Bechard in that moment to get us off to that great start, 2003 might not have looked the same.
No, that's wonderful. You've had a lot of good players. I think was Jose Lima on that team.
Josie Lima was on that team, and Coach, we just a couple months ago retired her jersey here. So we have three jerseys hanging now: Kelsey Payne, Anise Havili, and Josie Lima, who was a 6-rotation middle. Okay, so hit it out of the back row, was one of our best passers, one of our better servers, scored more points than any other player in the history of Kansas volleyball. So she was a big piece of that run that we had during that time.
Yeah, she's from Brazil. I remember a question I asked her. You invited me down. I was out of coaching, and I looked at the statistics, and she was way ahead of everybody else in attack percentage, but she was averaging at the time less than 2 kills per set. And I said, Josie, why is this? She said, I don't talk to the setter. And the setter said, yeah, she's right. She doesn't talk to me. So,
yeah, I think there's a number of setters that could confirm that conversation.
Well, sometimes when somebody comes in, the outsider says the exact same thing that the head coach has been saying for over a year, and occasionally it takes. But I've always liked watching your team. I've never seen a Kansas team that I didn't think had really good chemistry. You had an outstanding season this last season, and that was built around a similar setter who was an All-American. Can you talk about her a little bit?
Yeah, Cameron Turner of Topeka, Kansas. She would come to camp, and sometimes, our team would want to play afterwards. And as a sophomore in high school, she stayed after. And if you'd have walked in the gym, she kind of morphed into what she needed to be in that moment. And that's when I thought, this kid could be something pretty special. But turns out she had one Division I offer, that was Kansas, and a Division II offer in Topeka, Washburn University, Coach Chris Aaron. And we said, hey, right now we can't offer you 4 years of scholarship, but we could get you started with a year of scholarship. And she came in, and it was evident to me right away that we were going to be the team we needed to be when she was out on the floor, even though she wasn't quite ready. So freshman year, we threw her out there about a month into the season, and that's a year we went up to Omaha and won a couple matches in the NCAA tournament, went to a Sweet 16. So she led us to 4 NCAA tournaments. We were in the hunt for Big 12 championships with her. Very humble, team first type of kid who, you're proud of a lot of different kids who've gone through your program, but she holds a pretty special place, just how she went about her business and how she elevated those around her. And now she's up with Coach Kathy George with Grand Rapids in the PBF, Pro Volleyball League. So it's been quite a cool story to see Cameron and all she's done for our program. And I think she'll continue to help other people as she moves on through her career.
Well, and both she and Havili were not very tall. And people ask me what's the most important thing about setting, and the first thing is head, how they think about things, and the second, their mindset. Then the next thing is location. Everything else is pretty much gravy. Whether or not the kid's left-handed, whether or not she's 6'2" or 5'11" is not nearly as important as that. And she's a wonderful player. The thing that surprises me the most, Cassie Waite. Cassie Waite was your libero in your team that went into USC regional. You beat USC in 5. I think you were maybe even down in the 5th set. I don't know how many digs she had there, but at one time I knew it was well over 20. And she's the Big 12 Libero of the Year, and the kid's not an All-American. And I went back and looked at video, and she's making the same plays her sister makes for Creighton University. How do, obviously you have no control over that. A committee determines those things, but that kid was a great player.
People don't give her the credit that she deserved. And if it weren't for, she's a little beat up injury wise, I think she could have gone and had a career with USA Volleyball or others. An elite athlete, much like her sister, who was the ultimate competitor. And we were down in that match you speak of, 13-10 in set 5. Player of the Year, Bricio, I think was her name, on the front row, and Cassie Waite's back there serving. And not only is she serving to target with some pace, but she's making unbelievable plays throughout that entire match, but that comeback. But our ball control during that season that she spearheaded, along with Madison Rigdon and Tiana Dockery, was in my time here. We were good this year in first contact, but it was pretty elite. 15 and 16, when we went Final Four and won a Big 12 championship. And Cassie Waite was certainly the main reason why.
Yeah, she was excellent, as was Rigdon. Rigdon was a 6th rotation outside hitter, the type of player that could hit a heavy 280. And when I say heavy, it means that it got kills when you needed it, at critical points. So, I asked people that follow us on our Facebook group and so forth, things that they're interested in. And probably the question that everybody asks more than any other, would you be retiring if there wasn't NIL in the portal?
Yes, I would be retiring. However, it was a factor. The industry's changed quite a bit, which is fine. People are adapting and people will thrive. I just think it's a little different than what I signed up for many, many years ago. And I think there'll be a time where we'll get some guardrails around it. But right now, I think it is a little bit of the wild, wild west. It's starting to present itself more in the Olympic sports typically football, basketball, I think have had the biggest impact. But now I think as we went through this cycle of the portal, I think it is here to stay. At what level, I'm not sure. I think, Coach, I think people who have a graduate year left, I think that's a cool situation when they can get a degree somewhere, complete, the majority of their eligibility, and maybe go find a master's degree somewhere. And we've had great luck with some people that direction. I do wish people would be a little bit more patient in the beginning of their career to let some things develop and get a little momentum with their career before they jump around so much. So it was a little bit of a factor, but for me, it was time. It was the expiration date, I think, for me, was getting close. Our program was in a great position. I trust the administration here as much as any I've ever had to keep the momentum going in our program. They'll make a great hire, and things will continue to be well here within the athletic department and Kansas volleyball.
You mentioned something about, say, somebody transferring after maybe their first or second year. Bob Warming, who was a great soccer coach at Creighton University and Penn State, said something when I asked people what their talent was. Bob said, "I can get people to do what they don't want to do." And that's what we do as coaches. And that doesn't mean we're manipulative. It just means that it's hard. You're asking people to be uncomfortable. So when they know that the door is open, and not only is the door open, somebody's going to feed them and give them some cash to go through the door. It makes it easier for them not to take accountability for getting better. And I know every coach is feeling that, but I also know that every coach at some point here has to say, this is what it is, and this is what the job requires, and I've got to adjust, and my role is a little bit different, and we've got to move forward. How do you think your players had any sense that this might be your last season? And do you think it impacted them as a group?
After I did the Zoom call last Friday, it was pretty apparent that it surprised the team. Even when we put out a Zoom invitation the day before, I think there was some curiosity, but I don't think they thought that's where this was heading. So I do think it did come as a surprise at some level. There was maybe some thought about, hey, one more year and we can celebrate the career in a different way, but I didn't want a rocking chair everywhere I stopped or anything like that. I just knew when it was time to get to the finish line that this was the way to do it. Obviously, I didn't. That was very, very difficult managing that through a Zoom call. I'd rather that been in person, live, in a more intimate setting, but the timing didn't allow for that. But I think they understood at some level, 27 years at this place and 45 years overall. And I know I'm leaving at a time where we've got still a good trajectory and a great administration that'll find a great candidate that'll come in here and make this thing continue to work.
Yeah. And you've got a great facility. You've had the same family has built 2 volleyball arenas. I figure 8-10 years from now, they're probably going to build a third. That'll be.
It's the Horish family. My first year, we played in the field house, which was kind of cool for me being a basketball guy. But the Horish family in '99, we got the first Horish family activity center together, and then here in 2017, 18, 19, somewhere in there, was it 2019 maybe, we came back and started over, and we got a really cool facility. So the Horish family saw the worth in promoting the sport and what the females are doing on this campus. So it's been very cool to have that relationship with them, and obviously grateful for the contribution they've made over the years to what we're trying to do here.
Yeah. And, uh, you know, when people think somebody's a coach, they think about the things that happen maybe from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon in a gymnasium. But you really can't be a successful coach today if you aren't developing relationships that can lead and nurturing relationships that can lead to people being interested in your program and providing the development and the funds to build a great facility like that. That's why I think there should be a coaching curriculum in most universities where people get to see a little wider view of what it means to be a coach. Would you agree with that?
100%. And interestingly enough, our HSES uh, program here started a coaching minor, which I'm excited about. It's in its infancy, and I don't know that much about it, but I know we have people that want to get into the profession that I would agree think, hey, from 1 to 3:30 every day, I got to have my act together. But and fortunately for us, the Bechard family, having some longevity here, we built some great relationships with the people that are going to be influencers and important, not only with the volleyball program but the athletic department. Our fan base has gotten excited about a consistent. A team being consistent in how they play and the joy and the enthusiasm they play with. So I think that's important as well. But part of this year's team was the fact Cameron Turner, 4 years, I. El Nadi, 5 years, Caroline Bean, 4 years, Bryn McGee, 4 years, London Davis, 4 years. So we had kids who had spent their entire career here, and a fan base can adopt them and fall in love with them and really create a different sense of connection with that. And I hope that doesn't go away in college athletics.
Boy, I do too. I mentioned Cameron Turner again, and you're the only school that's offering her a Division I scholarship. So something's happening there beyond her size. Um, what? How many times would you have to see her play before you could say, I think there might be a place for her in this program?
Yeah, for me, it was when uh, she was playing with older, more experienced players, and she seemed to, like I said, morph into right what she needed to be in that moment. And she played for a smaller club, and she got recruited to bigger clubs, and she was loyal to her smaller club. And that club coach had her set a little bit, attack a little bit, pass a little bit, do all the things. So not only is she a good setter, she's the best right back defender I've ever coached. And I think it was she played basketball, she played other sports, and I know you're a proponent of that as well. So I think there was just opportunities for her to be an athlete in the moment when it was required. And she had so many experiences before she got here and about how that happened. But mom and dad are great people, very humble. So she didn't have any expectations coming in. And obviously, the career she had here speaks volume to the work that she put in and the type of person she is.
Yeah, it reminds me of a very similar story with Lindsay Wishmeyer from Nebraska, who I made the decision to offer her a scholarship when I saw her get knocked out in the basketball state tournament, and then come back about 8 minutes later into the
Yep.
game, and she would bring the ball up and then post up as the center, and she was 5'7", 5'8",
Yeah.
so she wasn't that big, but it just told me, man, we've got a place for a competitor. And she ended up playing as a freshman and playing on a national championship team. So but it takes it's easier to go out and identify arm speed. It's easier to identify size, um, but those aren't necessary. Those things are important. You have to have those things. And you mentioned some players on your teams that have had that. Kelsey Payne, right side player. I think she's going to play in the Omaha Supernovas in the professional league. Um, So it's easy to recognize those kids, but it's a little harder to figure out um, a glue player like Cameron Turner, who's going to, the things she does don't not always show up in the box score. Uh, you all, go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, there's those connectors that create that conduit between what you're trying to do. They a lot of times enable others. I think about Rigdon, Madison Rigdon, who was on that Final Four team that didn't get probably enough credit, and she was one of those types. And we've had others, and that you speak to those people that are mission critical um, for the team's success. When in fact, if you look at the stat sheet, it doesn't jump out at you right away, but you just know you got to have that player on the floor. And then there's kids that teammates play harder for when they're out there. And I think being able to identify those type of talent are going to create opportunities for your program as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, Roy Williams was there a lot of years while you were coaching. Um, and then he went on and finished his basketball coaching career at North Carolina. How much of an impact did Coach Williams have on you as a coach?
Yeah, he was part of the interview process because we shared Allen Fieldhouse back in the day. So uh, I thought that was interesting. But he was very supportive of all the other sports. I know he shared I think some of his camp money in a way with other sports so they could maybe create just a little better situation. So it's been fun with him. But the guy that I spent the last 20 years with, Bill Self, has been an amazing resource, not only for me, but this entire athletic department. There was a time where we were hiring football coaches every couple of years, and men's basketball kept this whole place afloat. And I've learned a great deal from him. And he's been so good to me and our family. Obviously, you mentioned our son still being involved in his program, but he's approachable. He'll help you with recruits. He'll do whatever was in the best interest of the athletic program first. So he's been a key factor. And now we got the football hire figured out as well with Lance Leipold. So I'm excited about having those two positions in a really good place, and that hasn't always been the case here.
Yeah. Well, I was really lucky that Coach Osborne was the football coach all the time that I was there. And when football or basketball are just kind of humming along and things are going well, there's a different feeling in the department, and
Yeah,
yeah, it makes everything easier.
it does. And, I think Coach Self won 14 or something Big 12 titles in a row. And his record in Allen Fieldhouse is it's just ridiculous. But his door's always wide open. He's approachable. He'll talk to recruits. He'll do whatever. And he's a team guy. So you're right. And now that we're building a new football stadium here because we feel like we've got great momentum, obviously, in that area as well. So we're excited about that.
This year we had a new rule that eliminated the double contact if you were taking a ball on your side of the net. And what that meant was somebody passes the ball up to the setter, they run off the net, and they might set a ball that would have been called a contact previously, going to the outside hitter. I watched some matches in the tournament, and it just made for so much better game. There were rallies that went on and on with great defensive plays because a referee wasn't intruding on it. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it took a ton of pressure off the R1. I think it created some opportunity for other people to jump in there and throw it up there as well. We had people stepping in thinking they were setters all of a sudden because, hey, they're not going to call this. So, but I think you're right. There were moments where the rallies were better because there was more freedom in whoever was taking the second ball, and not so worried about is this going to be a playable contact or not. So yes, it to me at first I struggled with it because I love training setting. I know you did as well, and I thought there was a purity to it. But I think the R1's job got a lot easier. They took out uh, a contact that was judgment, and people got more comfortable making plays that led to better rallies. You're right, 100%.
Yeah. Is there if you were head of the rules committee and you got all the votes on the rules committee, is there any change that you would like to see in the college game?
Yeah, I think I like opportunity to play more people, but I think we do have a lot of subs, and I think in some ways that's good. But I think at the club level, it's created a little bit of a situation, obviously, of specialization in our sport, which as we move through college, now you get to the professional level or the national team level, creates, I think, some hardship for those coaches. But I would like to see players trained a little bit more in all areas. I think that's now going to happen anyway with the added I think the added responsibility that we all feel in back row attacking. So people are going to have to learn how to play 6 rotations anyway. But I thought sometimes that subs maybe we get a little bit carried away with the number that we use.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I, I was fortunate to be the um, chair of the first rules committee, and at that time we only had 12 subs, no libero, and we brought in the libero, and I thought that the direction we would move was probably down to 10 subs. But I was only on that. I left Nebraska and was no longer the chair, and within a couple of years, it was up to 15 subs, and
Yeah.
it's yeah. Uh, what was the match? A match that you maybe felt more joy than any other match you coached, just leaving the floor and thinking, "Wow, I this was pretty special. What happened?"
Yeah. There's a couple, but
Well, we
I
can
think,
do a couple, Ray.
well, 2003, uh, obviously getting selected to the NCAA tournament for the first time in school history. I think it was in either my 4th or 5th year here. Um, we went out to Pepperdine and we played Long Beach State. Um, and, you know, the history of Long Beach State volleyball and Coach Jim Malero. And we won that match 3-0. And I thought, uh, he's one of the better minds in the sport, I think. Um, and for us, and maybe they didn't scout us very well. Maybe I don't know what happened, but I walked off from there thinking Kansas volleyball uh, uh, belonged in that moment, and that felt really good. Um, and then obviously the match at in San Diego you referenced when we beat the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament to advance to a Final Four um, was a pretty cool moment as well. And you know, there's a lot. There was over 27 years we've had some pretty cool things happen, but those two stand out, I think. And then a match at home where we clinched the Big 12 championship as well. So
Uh-huh. Who, what role did Pam play in terms of? Did you ever bounce things, ideas, or have her listen to a decision you had to make? Uh, the spouse of a head coach is not easy.
that job can be, I think, more difficult at times. Um, she asked me, "Hey, I don't know if she used honey or not, but she said, can we can we get this coaching thing done in three moves in 3 moves?" So not to just disrupt the family a ton. So we started a small high school, Lewis High School in Southwest Kansas, and went to Barton was the first move, and here we are at KU in 2 moves. So we talked about that and how we wanted our kids to have, a consistent opportunity to make friends and grow. But oh yeah, she heard a lot. There was times that I would come home and complain about somebody, and she would always say, "Honey, you picked them. So since you picked them, you got to figure out a way to how to coach them." But she's been awesome. She's been in the stands for about every match, and obviously we're looking forward to a lot of things that we've kind of put on hold over the years that we'll be able to do now. So,
Yeah. I can't imagine that you had many difficult players to coach, although sometimes a team needs a difficult player, somebody that's just ultra competitive, bordering on selfish, maybe hasn't ever been a part of a healthy team before. How did you handle situations like that?
I think if they were competitive, I think if even sometimes a little selfish, as long as they wanted to work hard, you know what? If they wanted to come and get after it and be a good teammate on some level, and maybe that competitiveness, that drive would maybe spark a fire in somebody else. You recruit them and you try to create best opportunity for them to satisfy not only what some of their personal goals are, but get to a team situation where you're nationally respected and you're doing some good things. So it's a delicate balance. And there's only been a couple times where we had kids in the program where it probably wasn't in their best interest to stay. So that's happened on a couple occasions, and maybe they and found a situation that was better for them. But for the most part, I would say we took kids in and got them their degree here, and we felt like we got the very best out of them for the most part.
Sometime in the next week or two, the next head coach at Kansas is gonna call you up and ask to meet with you, and they're going to ask you, "What do I need to know?" And what are you going to say to them, Ray?
Oh boy, I guess I wouldn't want them to come into the situation with a lot of preconceived notions. I would just tell them that they've got an enthusiastic fan base. They got a supportive administration. They've got they coach a program that is important on this campus and important within this athletic program. And I'll be a fan from afar if there's anything I could ever assist with or help with, but I'll stay out of the way. But I think they're coming into a situation where volleyball is an important piece of what's going on in this community, in this athletic department. So they'll be supported and they'll have an opportunity to do great things.
Rock chalk, Ray. Thank you.
Rock chalk, J-Hawk.
Thank you so much for your friendship and for being on here today. I also want to thank Human X Ventures, Brad Black. Brad has a book out called Talent, Culture, and Teams. You can get it on Amazon.com. And I hope that we are able to continue having wonderful guests like Ray Bechard on here in the future. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you, Coach.
Inside Coaching Mind is presented by Human X Ventures and is pleased to be a part of the Learfield Varsity Podcast Network. If you're on Facebook, look for the Inside the Coaching Mind group and join a vibrant discussion of volleyball and leadership. TerryPettit.com is where you'll find Terry's books, writings, and downloads, as well as subscription links for all your podcast apps.